Hey guys, what's up? It's Emily, and today I'm going to be doing a video all about my functional neurological disorder. So if you don't know what functional neurological disorder is, this is the perfect video for you. So when I was personally diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, or FND, as I will be saying throughout this video, I was told that your brain is like a computer. So if your computer isn't working properly, you can take it into the store to have it repaired. They'll look it over and they can tell you, well, your computer is structurally fine. Your screen is working properly, your keyboard's working, everything is working properly. So that means that there's something wrong with the software. So in a person with FND, your brain and my brain is structurally normal. You look at MRIs, CT scans, EEG is, the one with all the little electrodes on your head. All those tests come back normal, saying that your brain looks healthy. But you have a software issue that causes you to have unexplained neurological symptoms. So, basically that's what FND is. It's a very misunderstood disorder in the medical community. I've had doctors personally tell me that it's all in my head, I'm faking, that it's just a term that they give people when they don't know what to do and they just want them to go away. So that's really, really hard to hear, because when you experience things like non-epileptic seizures and passing out and chest pain and paralysis and blindness, it's scary. And every patient with FND, your symptoms are valid. They're valid. But of course, there's no tests for it. It's basically a process of elimination to be diagnosed, which is difficult. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. So I was officially diagnosed with FND in February of 2019, so almost a year ago. December of 2018, so almost exactly a year ago, I started to experience leg twitches. My legs would just randomly twitch, and I was told by my family doctor, oh, it's just restless leg syndrome due to your fibromyalgia. So I thought, okay, I can live with that. It's kind of painful, but I can live with that. And then my arms started to twitch. And I would feel like something was twitching inside my back or my stomach. Sometimes I swear I could feel my brain twitching. And I just knew in my gut that something else was going on. So in January of 2019, I started to have what appeared to everybody else a grand mal seizure. I remember I was laying on the couch with my boyfriend. We were watching a movie or a TV show, something on Netflix. And next thing I know, he's standing over me, almost crying, saying, Em, you just had a seizure. So, of course, naturally, we go to the ER because, it looked like I was having a seizure. They ran some blood work. They did a CT scan, and the doctor told me, no, you're not showing any irregular signs. It was probably just like a one-time thing. You're okay. Don't drive for a few days. You'll be fine. So I was scared, so I decided that I was going to go to my parents' house because I needed my mom, because I wasn't feeling well, I was scared, I was worried, and I was there, and I had 3 more what appeared to be grand mal seizures. So my mom, being the mama bear that she is, hi Mom, love you, drove me to here in the city, took me to the Royal University Hospital here in Saskatoon, and said, there's something wrong. So I was there for the whole day. They ran some more tests. They did an EEG. They did another CT scan, ran a bunch more blood work, had me hooked up to a heart monitor. I had 3 while I was there. And the doctor still said, "You don't have epilepsy. You're fine. You're faking this." Needless to say, I left crying. My mom was very upset. I was very upset. And my mom took me back to my home, and the following day I had another seizure and I started to choke on my tongue. So my boyfriend rushed me to the hospital. I had another one while I was in the waiting room, and yeah. So at this point, it was the beginning of February. I was in the ER for 5 days. They said it was going to be a 24-hour EEG, but it ended up only being like 12 hours. And while I was hooked up to the EEG, I did not have a seizure. I had like the leg twitches and the arm twitches, and I swear that I could feel like my brain twitching, but I wasn't actually having what looked to be a grand mal seizure. So the neurologist comes on day 5 and says, "So we're going to refer you to a psychiatrist. We're also going to refer you to psychology, and I'll refer you to a neurologist." So I said, "Okay, but what's wrong with me?" And she looked at me and said, "I don't know." So a week later, I go see my neurologist, and he said, "Well, based on all your different tests, you don't have epilepsy. I don't believe you have MS. I think you have functional neurological disorder." That's all he really said. I didn't know what it was. I left, I got sent home, and I started Googling and looking up videos and didn't really find much. So fast forward to now. I have functional neurological disorder. I have non-epileptic seizures. I black out a lot. I go through periods where I don't remember a thing. I can be talking to you, having a full-on conversation and not remember. I pass out. I have horrible chest pain. I get migraines, brain fog. I get facial twitches. There's times where my facial twitches look like I'm having a stroke, but I'm not. And yeah, it's very scary. So I can have anywhere from 2 seizures a day to 40. I think the highest I've had in one day was 52. And they're not just, a little shake. I whip my head back and forth. I fall off the bed. I hit my head. I've cut my face. If you've seen my previous video, you will see, I have cut my face open from hitting it while having a seizure. I have banged my head against the wall to the point where there's a dent in the wall. And yet doctors tell me that I'm fine. So it's extremely frustrating to hear, and if you are going through something similar, I am so sorry. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. It's the scariest thing that I have personally ever experienced. So I asked on my Instagram if anybody had any questions about functional neurological disorder. And I got a few. So let's get into it. So the first question is, what is it like for you? I've kind of already touched on this. It's extremely scary. Thankfully, I'm not aware what's going on when they happen. I just know that my head hurts. And if I hit something, then that part of my body hurts as well. The next question is, what led to your diagnosis and how long did it take? So my diagnosis took roughly, I would say a month and a half. And from what I've read and talked to people about, I was very lucky in how quickly I was diagnosed. Some people can go 5 or 6 years without a diagnosis. So I feel very lucky that I was diagnosed. Of course, it's difficult because there's no treatment for this. You can be treated for anxiety and depression, but you can't be put on anti-seizure meds, because if you don't have epilepsy, anti-seizure meds can actually cause you to have real seizures. Not saying that non-epileptic seizures aren't real seizures, because they are. It just causes you to have that misfiring in the brain that you can visually see on a test. So the next question is, have you got any tips on how to manage FND? Unfortunately, I don't. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I have found different tools that help me to stay safe when I am experiencing symptoms. So I use things like my walker that helps me not only with my fibromyalgia pain, but if I black out or pass out, then I have something to somewhat catch me, that I'm not just falling straight to the ground. I have that little bit of a cushion and support there. I also have things like my bed rail that is behind me. I got that after falling out of bed a few times from seizures. So that helps me stay in bed and not hit my head on the bookshelf that's beside my bed, or even just hit my head on the floor. So that's another thing that keeps me safe. Another thing that I have to stress a lot is having a good support system. So I am very fortunate in that my parents and my sister and my boyfriend and his family are very supportive of me. They know that I would not choose to experience these. If they happen when I'm around them, they're very comforting and loving, and I don't want to say that they don't make a big deal out of it, but they're not going crazy about it, I guess. So having a good support system in place that you can go to and talk about these symptoms with helps a lot. At least it does for me. I find that also seeing my therapist helps, just so that I can verbally get out what I need to, because FND can be extremely frustrating, especially when, anti-anxiety meds and antidepressant meds don't work for you, or aren't controlling your symptoms for you. That can be extremely frustrating, and especially when you're physically harming yourself while these symptoms are occurring. Sometimes just letting what you're feeling out can help a lot. So I definitely recommend a great support system. Okay, the next question is, have your doctors disbelieved you/your seizures because they're not epileptic, so they're not real? Yes. I have had doctors in the ER, as soon as they hear non-epileptic, they're like, oh, you're fine, go home. The next question is, your thoughts on the history of it stemming from hysteria. So I actually didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was, it's always just been kind of considered like a conversion disorder, which is another term for FND. Basically, your body converts stress, anxiety, depression into physical symptoms. So actually, I was kind of shocked by that. So the definition of hysteria is exaggerated or uncontrollable emotion or excitement, especially among a group of people. So the psychiatric definition of hysteria is a psychological disorder whose symptoms include conversion of psychological stress into physical symptoms, selective amnesia, shallow, volatile emotions, and overdramatic or attention-seeking behavior. The term has a controversial history, as it was formerly regarded as a disease specific to women. So that frustrates me actually a lot, because I feel that because I am female and I'm younger, I'm 23 years old, doctors don't take me seriously, and they never really have. So I've definitely been told that I'm attention seeking, and that I'm just looking for like pain drugs, and I'm not. I truly, all I want is to feel safe. That's all I want. And so, yeah. I can definitely see how it can stem from hysteria, because I do know of people, and I've read tons of studies that prove that, some people with FND have things like PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and that once they are started on medication for that, their FND gets better. However, that doesn't seem to be the case with me. I am being heavily treated for my anxiety, actually to a point where I think I'm actually over-treated. So, yeah. The next question is, anything that you've found triggers episodes or stops them from coming on? Yes and no. I haven't found any sort of trigger per se. So I can have them when I'm stressed out. I can have them when I'm like totally calm, just laying in bed. I can have them when I'm out of the house, when I'm in the house. It doesn't seem to matter who I'm around. I have found that keeping my brain busy does prevent them from happening. So let's say I spend all day at the computer, I'm less likely to have them than I would if I were just to spend the whole day lying in bed watching movies. That's the only thing that I've really found. And I can't even say that's 100% because I could sit at my computer for a day and have like 40 seizures, and the next day I could do the exact same thing and have 2. So I'm not exactly sure, and doctors aren't really helpful with that. So yeah. The last question is mental health and functional neurological disorder. So that kind of stems back to the hysteria. I definitely think that there is a big connection between functional neurological disorder and mental health. But I also think that's in regards to anything. So that's kind of all I have for today. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment them down below, or you can always DM me on Instagram as well. I will link my Instagram down below. It's @diabeticemily_. If you want to give me a follow, that would be great. And be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.